Anything that upsets a watch snob is always gonna get high marks in my book.
Over the years, as I have owned and experienced more watches, it's become apparent to me that there are various different levels and types of homage watches, some better or worse than others. Today I look at one form of very interesting homage watch from a brand I have never tried or heard of before that I came across via Instagram. In a moment of weakness I pulled the trigger, so let's see what I get for the $540 that I paid for it, how it compares to many different other types of homage watches, and ultimately ask, should one still be buying homage watches in 2022, and if so, who makes the best homage watches?
Okay, hi guys, and welcome to the show. Today, as we're discussing 36mm watches and my obsession with them, I'm wearing my favorite, which is the Explorer. This is on just a simple olive nylon strap from Wrist County Watch Club, a really favorite combo. Before we get into this, I want to make something abundantly clear, and that is my stance on homage watches. A lot of people still comment to this day saying, TGV, I thought you were anti-homage, and this confusion stems from an old video I did donkeys years ago. 5 reasons not to buy a homage watch, and basically I took the 5 arguments against homage watches and I obliterated them basically, thus highlighting the fact that actually I think they're great value for enthusiasts. I think they're a wonderful thing, fun, and you know, it even gets people into the hobby. So I support homage watches vehemently. I always have, always will. It's like anything in life, you know, you got to spend it wisely and you got to know what you're doing before you get into it. So let's identify the different types and have a look back just to refamiliarize and also familiarize anyone new to this hobby.
The price and quality of homage watches can vary greatly, as you will see in just a moment. However, all homage watches have a few things in common. Most crucially is what separates them from counterfeit watches. Obviously, they're perfectly legal. They all provide a great solution for those who desire a certain design of luxury or rare watch that for whatever reason you simply cannot get. Most often this is because either one cannot afford it or they simply are not willing to pay so much for a particular watch. I myself am in the latter camp, and I've started thinking about this recently, that unless it's a true grail watch that you buy once in a lifetime, I'm not willing to spend any more than a month's income on a luxury watch. The final reason is scarcity, like the watch we're looking at today. The watch might be so rare, it's simply not possible to find one, let alone one in functional working order. But ultimately, with all this in mind, homage watches are about having fun, but also having a functional substitute.
So where does WMT stand in comparison to all the other homage offerings available on the market today? Well, I've identified 4 different types of homage watches, and they vary differently in quality, value, even brand prestige and heritage. So let's take a closer look.
First, we have what I call the heritage homage watches. At the highest level, there is brands like Tudor, who are exactly as Rolex founder Hans Wilsdorf intended them to be, a high-quality but less expensive alternative to its bigger brother brand, Rolex. Many prestigious brands have done this over the years, in what I call heritage homaging. From Bulova to Hamilton, Citizen to Seiko, and most controversially Swatch more recently with their Moon Swatch. Even horology brands, occasionally. These are all brands with well-established horologically important histories to their name, but at one time or another have indulged in making homages simply to profit and supply a demand or particular trend. This is the best type of homage watch in my opinion, as typically they offer the best quality, as they are already experienced watchmakers, and you also actually get a name on the dial that means something.
Personally, it makes me appreciate my little Rico a little bit more because the Ricoh is, well, it's a conversation piece. It has an amazing story behind it, a legacy from a great watchmaker, well, was a great watchmaker.
Then there is what I call semi-homage brands that kind of blur the line between vintage inspired and just a straight out homage. The best and personal favourite example of this is of course Dan Henry. He makes amazingly affordable tributes to extremely rare or long lost classics, all influenced by timepieces from his vast legendary collection, but at the same time always with a unique twist to the design that makes them stand on their own. Thirdly, you have what I call homage watch specialists. The highest in build quality would be the excellent German but Swiss-made brand Steinhardt. I've personally owned several during my watch collecting journey.
So recently I've become quite obsessed with Clint Eastwood. I mean, these are just some of his films. I rewatched all of the Dirty Harrys, but one watch that is synonymous with him, and he wore, I believe, in a couple of later movies, the root beer, the GMT, and I'm getting that itch. It's not out of my price range. I would quite happily buy one if I found the right one, but that's the thing, finding one in good condition. And then of course, when you buy expensive luxury watches, as my recent servicing of my Tudor perfectly illustrates, that's an ETA, so it wasn't too bad and I didn't need that much work on it. I discussed it in a previous video. This does make a very good point. The upkeep, having more watches equals more upkeep. Some of my Rolexes, it's come to that time and it's going to be expensive, but I want to scratch that itch. So I am considering possibly the Steinhardt GMT root beer.
At the lowest end are the specialists from AliExpress and Amazon, and I highly recommend avoiding all of those due to poor standards of manufacturing, reliability issues, and often terrible customer care. Very much a false economy in my opinion. Last, but by no means least, we have the fourth category of homage watchmaker, which WMT falls under. I like to call them the homage modders. The most popular form of this is of course the Seiko modding community, and here the quality and offerings can be just as varied and risky as AliExpress. But like most things in life, you get what you pay for. A great example of the best are watchmakers like Watchmakers 4, who I've personally hired, and Tempest watches. Now you guys know I am absolutely obsessed with 36mm watches to both collect and design watches in this size. So let's transition to the unboxing and see what this Hong Kong-based WMT has to offer. This came all the way from Hong Kong, and it's the first time I've ever actually pre-ordered a watch. Very rare for me, but I've had my eye on this brand for a little while. Anyway, I'll do a quick knife check. I'm wearing the watch. No, I'm using the Spider-Go Hawkbill there. Anyway, let's make the first incision. Watch experiment unit, kind of like old vintage style there. Right, let's move that over there. Let's do drum roll. Oh, look at that. Oh, nice. Very light, but of course, yeah, it's gold plated. Love that dial. A little bit concerned that the gold plating would be too cheap looking, but the tone of it is pretty spot on. It looks almost the same richness as my real 18 karat day date. A little bit tubby. Let's just get the calipers in, hold on. Yeah, it's a chunky one, 12.7, but that's mainly because of that kind of vintage style plexiglass. Let's just take the plastic off. Let's move that hand. Oh, it's a screw down. It's a screw down, nice. But yeah, it looks really nice, detailed work on the dial. Fantastic. I like this no-nonsense, unpretentious packaging. Yeah, let's give it 24 hours. I'll gather my thoughts. Let's take it back to the studio.
So there it is. I have to say, the gold tone of it isn't too bad. I've seen some fashion watches that just look so rich and so gaudy, whereas this is kind of restrained. Let's talk about the negatives so far. Well, I've got to say the crown threading is not the best in the world. It's quite finicky. At least we got 100 meters water resistance. And I talk from experience, this is where the most points of friction are between the gold plating. So it will wear off on the bracelet first, that kind of puts me off. Although pop this on a strap and it's gonna boost the longevity of it looking really pristine. And I think actually on a strap it might even be nicer, might be a little less, you know, bling bling as it were. One could argue that this, listen to this, where's my mic? Can you hear that? One could argue that they're going for a sense of verisimilitude with the jingly jangly poor shoddy quality that is typical of Rolexes of this age. Or you could say it's just, you know, cheap manufacturing. The biggest downfall for me, it has to be that Miyota. It's the 8215, which is, you know, one of the lowest Miyotas. You don't get hacking, real shame for this kind of price. Crazy, really crazy. Another big negative has to be those screws on the links. Yes, it's nice to have them, but the threading was terrible. It is a comfortable fit. You got lots of, just like Rolex really, on the clasp, and that shoddy stamped clasp, just like Rolex. You got plenty of micro adjustments. So you can get a really good fit. It's just getting there. It's a problem, that's all. Another big disappointment is the Loom. It's only on the hands, basically. You don't get any Loom on the dial. The Loom plots there, I mean, you could argue that they're trying to mimic dead tritium, which again, is it laziness or is it trying to be like old vintage watches?
WMT is an interesting and clever, logical direction as a homage watchmaker specialist. They unapologetically specialize in doing small, limited runs of watches based on some of the most desired but hard to get or difficult to afford vintage Rolexes, Blancpains, Pateks, and famous rare military watches. This Oman dialed 36mm Datejust homage is a great example. Historically, the Sultan of Oman would buy custom-signed watches from Rolex, Patek, Omega, and so on, all bearing the badge of the royal family and emblem of the Sultanate of Oman. These were used as diplomatic gifts, most often to British dignitaries, as Oman has consistently had a close military, cultural, and economic relationship with the UK. There's a fantastic article all about these highly lusted and rare watches on the Italian Watch Spotter blog, which I definitely recommend. It's a wonderfully fascinating rabbit hole to enjoy, and I will leave a link for you if you wish to discover more in the description.
So what are the positives? Well, I gotta say, it gives that period correct feel. The size is spot on. I don't see that many, aside from Citizen and Seiko, there's not that many good Datejust homages out there. In 36mm size with this aesthetic and an Oman tribute dial, you could say, I've never seen that before. A big bonus is how they sell their watches. They do it in limited quantity, which, funnily enough, protects their value. I've seen these on the used market after they sell out on the main website, on eBay, for example, selling for even more than they were asking for in the first place, which is quite extraordinary. That will really annoy the watch snobs, which is a big bonus here. So yeah, anything that upsets a watch snob is always gonna get high marks in my book. The dial work is certainly the biggest aspect. What I like most about this watch, yes, there is a little bit of dirt. You'll see dust on the macro shots. To the naked eye, you can't see it whatsoever. The unforgiving nature of my macro lens, of course. I love that silver sunburst effect of the dial. Very effective, very sharp, precise printing, especially on those two ceremonial Oman daggers. I actually really like the plexiglass crystal. Again, was it a cheap shortcut to save costs, or are they trying to mimic the shoddy quality of vintage Rolexes? Yeah, that's up to debate. I think the movement certainly is a shortcut. It's a shame. I can't believe for that kind of money should have come with a better higher-end Miyota. But anyway, I really like the little jar they have included in the packaging. Nice touch. Somewhere to store the extra links. They didn't have to do that. Much better than a counterfeit. This is perfectly legal, obviously. God forbid something happens to it. You're not gonna have to worry about this. I keep my day date really for special occasions, and when I put it on, you know, you feel like the president. Another big benefit of going gold is, of course, it matches jewelry. I really love that. That's something I love about two-tone and gold watches, or gold tone watches, I should say, in particular.
So in conclusion, WMT supplies a much needed demand in the homage watch world. They also provide customizational kind of a la carte work, which I think I might indulge in next time. The service was very fast and the watch was exactly as described. However, value and quality wise, they do fall short. I feel they are very much overpriced compared to the competition and quality you have out there. For the same kind of money, I would actually recommend looking at Steinhardt, or for a little less, my friend Mark's Islander brand. Now, if we forget the homage discussion for a moment, Steinhardt makes seriously well-made watches, comparable to anything Swiss-made under a few grand. Would I still choose this over Pagani, Parnis or Alpha and the endless other options out there? Well, yes, I would actually. Those other brands might offer better value and specs, but I am always a sucker for aesthetics first, so it really depends on your own priorities. This does feel a little bit more like cosplay rather than a serious watch, but nonetheless, I still have a lot of fun with it. Would I recommend them? Yes, of course, but next time I'm probably going to go for just the standard steel or diver style watch.
So guys, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know your thoughts, queries, comments, opinions, all the rest of it down below, especially your favorite homage watch makers. And from people who are anti-homage watch, please do share why. I'm still waiting to hear a legitimate argument that can actually persuade me to be anti-homage. I don't think it will ever happen. Please don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it and found it useful, and especially if you want to see more free, independent content like this, don't forget to share this video with your friends as well. So yeah, onwards and upwards, and I will catch you in the next one. Thank you for watching. Ciao.